Good morning. I am waking up, and when I wake up in the morning, I have a whole rush of awarenesses. So I've sorted out a lot of projects in my sleep. I've ended up solving some problems that I deemed problems for the moment to take a new direction. And yeah. So this morning I'm capturing my process, my thought process, and I'm gonna think it out loud as best as I can, because there's so much awareness that flows through my mind. It's like a film, like a film strip, in my awareness, and I actually feel it starting right here and back here. It's like a tightness and a tension, like a contraction, almost like the unconscious side of my brain is like a triangle filtering, sending energy and light this way, and I actually absorb it in my physiology, in my brain, and in my neck, and in my shoulder, and in my rib cage, and it comes back here. So when I wake up in the morning, I may have had a great rest, but the uptake of the awareness and data and that comes from a trauma brain, a trauma trained brain. So how do I explain that? If your rest wasn't safe or restful in the 0 to 3 window of our developmental stage, the brain, where we are regulating our emotions or wiring, more like hardwiring in our approach to life, or what we can expect from an unconscious standpoint, how our bodies can automatically function. I need my water. I got resin on my chair. Did you see that? When I put my things in storage, I had a art piece that wasn't quite cured properly, and I set the whole case down, the whole basket here, and it was perforated, and thankfully I only got this out of the mess of that learning exhibition. Okay, so yeah, I actually feel the data moving in my physiology, and I'm right-handed, so this is my do muscle, right? And I can actually feel that in this rib area as I move my shoulder up. So this is how my genius journal was born, is just my body being paralyzed from all of the awareness and data that I was processing on any given day and on every given night. And my body has always done this, but it wasn't in my conscious awareness. And so when I started studying the somatic body from a physiological standpoint, alongside the impacts of EMDR and cognitive behavioral therapy, I realized that there was just this disconnect in the body piece, because I could tell myself something I knew all I wanted till I was blue in the face, but I couldn't get my unconscious side to get online and get on board and just have it be a flow or be an automatic situation. And this is part of the reason why I don't relate to my bipolar disorder diagnoses as a a shameful thing. It is just a matter of fact of what happens to our body, brain-body connection when we don't have safe spaces to mature in, both from a physiological standpoint, but also from a psychological, emotional standpoint as well. And I grew up in a very structured learning environment, and not always, it was strict, but in a weird kind of a way. There were certain rules, and there wasn't like corporal punishment, but there were real consequences to that situation. And sometimes the outcome of other people's trauma was there was physical abuse, or when corporal punishment was used as a tool, it was, the way that I saw it, it was like somebody who didn't have any other resources to get their point across. And I just happened to be the person in their purview, in their accountability, responsibility, that heightened that sense of stress for those individuals. I did a really powerful thing for myself in 2023 when I started motherhood. And I had been practicing it beforehand, but not very well on myself. Better on others, not well on myself. And that was the absence of judgment as a tool for behavior guidance or modification. I just didn't find it valuable, and I found it physiologically draining, exhausting, and it wasn't practical. It wasn't effective. It didn't get me to getting things done any better. If anything, it added to my stress and strain. So yeah, my don't give a fuck attitude it's not that I don't care, it's that I've reprioritized my care to other things. And the language that I use with myself on a daily basis is continuously changing, which changes the dialogue and the conversations I have with others, which also leaves me on an island a lot of the time. As an outlier, or as my doctor said, too high functioning for my own good, whatever that means. Yeah. People think they're cute when they're saying things, but we don't consider the context of the bigger picture of the person that we only know the tip of the iceberg for, or one tiny layer of an onion for. So yeah, I do identify as an onion, very layered. That'll mean something to some people, but if it doesn't mean anything to you, well, maybe get curious about that. What does it mean for other people? And in the absence of judgment, where's the humor in that? Okay, so when I thought about turning on the camera, there was something very concrete that I wanted to do, and that was a brain dump. But I don't recall what it's about, and this is the challenge for me about doing my work in the public realm, as well as doing it integrally in my everyday life, is the moment that I am aware that I'm speaking to someone about something, and it's a communication that needs to garner some form of understanding, or some form of context, or some form of usable tool out of it. usable resource out of it, then that's where my unconscious and my conscious parts of my brain start to haywire, and my autopilot and my by design pilot are my autopilot being mostly the central or the cerebellum, as part of that kind of central dashboard for the central nervous system. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath because there's a lot of data coming in and my body's getting overwhelmed. I'm aware that what I wanted to talk about earlier was more around emotional and physiological fuel that the emotional impacts or our emotional responses generate in our body and our physiology. I would liken this to being like an athlete, like I'm walking up a mountain. As the data is coming from my, like the ether in my body up to my brain, it feels like I'm hiking up a huge mountain of steps. Like I actually feel like winded. And what I wanted to talk about consciously may not be relevant because this is very usable. This is also the feeling of a panic attack when it's very acute and onset really fast. For me anyways. Now my brain is itchy. And so that's kind of the central, the myelin sheath is itchy, so it's like the outer layer. This is why I don't try to look put together in my content, because I can't. This is life. I'm living, I am experiencing in real life, and if I don't share these in the moment awarenesses or kind of viewing of the film that I was talking about earlier, then it doesn't work. Like, you can't curate this. And as I say that, I get this whole pain right here in my body. So that tone, that vocal tone, it doesn't work. Somehow pulls down here in my body. Kind of sounds resigned to something. Isn't that fascinating? And as I rub that, I feel that release of the yawn, and I do feel that from the chest up. So this is complex PTSD as well as acute performance trauma. It's like not being able to know the answer fast enough or get it done fast enough. My body's responded to that. And to those of you that have the ability to read thought energy or heart energy, if you can feel what I'm using in my mind's eye, to, or in my heart space to, like, the words and the language or the awarenesses. My ears feel really itchy. This is how it takes to download my data after waking up in the morning from my sleep. My brain feels hot and itchy all along here. So I have a lot of diagnoses. I'm going to share them right now, but I have to review them because I don't really pay attention to them. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to look that up because of the physiological impacts. Sorry, can't make me care. Okay, so I'm looking for the diagnoses, which means I'm looking for a particular letter. And I can't read this letter because it's under publication ban. Yeah, my own data's under publication ban. Oh, but this is not, this letter is not, this is for my pension application. Okay, so this is the best one to read you anyways. It is the DSM languaged version, the clinical languaged version. Okay. So my impairment is episodic mood dysregulation with psychotic features causing impaired judgment, disorganized and intrusive thought processes, reduced insight, emotional volatility, and decreased cognitive efficiency, particularly under stress or increased stimulation. And as I read that, I get real nervous and I have like this itchy spot here. And this heart rate is just like really intense. So I am on medication now. Before I was on medication, I used to use intense vitamin supplements, including Myers cocktails to regulate my nervous system postpartum, because the amount of nutrients that I need are intense. And I stopped nursing or breastfeeding in May of 2024. And I'm still lactating. So, like, I don't know how long my body takes to decide to do a job because it's stressed and dysregulated. Functional limitations: unable to reliably sustain focus, judgment, or productivity. I would argue I need a lot of structure for that. But if we're told that I just should be able to walk around and do that on my own, I mean, I do that effectively in a lot of ways. People just don't know how many things I'm doing, and as much as I try to slow it down, the more downtime I have, the more creativity comes forth. So it's kind of like a see-do cycle, or like eternity loop. Mood instability and psychotic symptoms worsen under stress. Yeah, I get severely impatient with people's stupid. And not that they don't know, it's that when, like, there's an unwillingness to know, that just makes me irate. leading to inconsistent attendance, reduced performance, and difficulty accepting supervision. That is all correct. Now, not capable of regular or sustained substantially gainful employment. I mean, I've been working since I was 14, going to school and educating myself. So I maybe can't do that in rigid structures, but it doesn't mean I can't do that. And I'm still very much running my own life and very much helping other people with their lives for free because of these judgments of me. Prognosis will remain the same for more than a year. See attached letter, see attached letter. Okay. So trauma related with disorder with secondary psychotic symptoms. Bipolar 1 disorder with psychotic features. I gotta go look that up. What's the difference between bipolar 1 and 2? 1 is, I think I've had it. It's been loving me a long time. Maybe like type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Oh, God. Okay, where was I? Trauma-related disorder with secondary psychotic symptoms. Okay. Chronic trauma-related dysregulation with secondary psychotic symptoms, including paranoid ideation. Paranoid ideation, I've seen it on TV, I've read it in books, I've studied it in classrooms. So, is that paranoid ideation? I don't know. One of the people I'm connected to on LinkedIn that loves my content wrote a book called Click, Stalk, Destroy. I don't know if that's paranoid ideation or just a fact of the material world we live in today that others don't want to apprise themselves of. Perceptual distortion. Yes, I perceive things in a distorted way from the narratives that I've been forced to believe in, and the ones that I try to step out of and I keep getting sucked back into by everybody under the sun. Heightened threat sensitivity, 100%. I'm always on heightened flight because everybody expects me to bend to their women and be nice and smile and be happy. Yeah, let me tell you how I really feel about that. But then I'm the asshole when they don't listen. So yes, I do have the distorted, which impairs my concentration, correct? Which reduces my emotional regulation, correct? Okay, let me read it as it said. Heightened threat sensitivity, impaired concentration, and reduced emotional regulation, which intensify in response to stress or perceived danger. 100%. I have to be in my meadow chilling butterfly to be as happy as can be and as productive as can be. Whistle while we work. Do, 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 do. Stress intolerance, avoidance, and trauma activation interfere with attendance, concentration, and task completion. 100%. Oh my God. Avoiding breaking up with a boyfriend before has sent me into tizzies every fucking time. It's the abandonment trauma. It's the I'm not going to be with my family. I'm going to be all alone. Holy shit, does it ever. Functional limitations. Stress intolerance, avoidance, and trauma activation interfere with attendance, concentration, and task completion. I have so lived this. Holy shit. Interpersonal stress and deadlines trigger a symptom escalation. This is why I don't need deadlines in my life. They just don't do anything of value to me. I set objectives, goals, and time frames. And then I usually get it done beforehand because time frames are like a joke. Interpersonal stress and deadlines trigger symptom escalation. Unable to maintain consistent performance or meet demands of substantially gainful employment. Like, it's written on paper, man. Objectively speaking. Now this is funny. This is where I'm like, into the woods to grandmother's house. The better to eat you with, my dear. Schizotypal personality disorder. Pervasive disturbances in thinking and perception characterized by eccentric cognition, referential and magical thinking, suspiciousness, impaired reality testing, and reduced social cognition, resulting in compromised judgment and adaptive functioning. Well, that's where we agree to disagree. Distorted interpretations. I mean, I have distorted interpretations and then I execute, and then they're reality. So is that magical thinking or is that a strategic approach? Functional limitations. Distorted interpretations, suspiciousness, and interpersonal dysfunction impair collaboration, supervision, and task execution. Yes, I can only work with weirdos who get that they're not going to get me, but they trust my vision. And we're on the same page, objectives, responsibilities, and roles, and who's doing what by when. Poor stress tolerance and rigidity prevent consistency and persistence in work roles, not capable of sustained competitive employment. That's why I'm better as an entrepreneur, as a contractor, and as a consultant. And it's expected to remain the same, if not get more acute, with more experience and assholery and less shenanigan tolerance and more output of the desired outcomes. See attached letter, see attached letter. This is my psychiatrist. And then I won't read the personal letter or the actual attached letter. But I will read the medication history and treatment response. Miss Guzman is not currently taking, so this would have been in April, which has changed. Miss Guzman, every time I go to the hospital, I get really stressed out and it triggers my trauma, and then I end up having to go on medication. Ms. Guzman is not currently taking psychiatric medication. This is not due to lack of access or refusal of care, but rather reflects the nature of her illness and its impacts on insight and adherence. Over the years, she has undergone multiple medication trials, including antidepressants, antipsychotics, and anxiolytics, and mood stabilizers. These trials resulted in only mild to moderate and inconsistent benefit with no sustained restoration of function. Medication regimens were at times suboptimal or limited by side effects, tolerability issues, and fluctuating insight. Importantly, Ms. Guzman does not lack decisional capacity from a legal standpoint, for which the bar is very low, and therefore medication cannot be compelled despite clear medical indication from a practical, moral, and ethical standpoint. This represents a significant treatment barrier and negatively impacts prognosis. Yeah, I don't take medications. I don't do drugs that don't help my body. I don't care if they're prescribed or street. I just don't. That's not fun for me. Anyways, this is why sometimes my content is pissed off, and this is why sometimes it's objective, because I'm still processing and I'm still going through the process and the cycles. But yeah, I've only been forced into medical models and escalating situations because I can't get anybody to listen to me from my perspective. And I can't help them comprehend from their perspective. So, yeah, communication is very important. I am doing this work. I do hope that people will extract value from my content for themselves. But I very much don't want to be harassed about marketing my work, about selling my work, because this is a very personal healing journey that in turn yields value to others. So I would ask those that think my content is really great to go viral to measure your thoughts, because you're inviting people to do open brain surgery to themselves, and they may not have the resources, they may not have the support systems, and they may not have the stamina or the physiological capacity to do what they need to do when they start to see my content. This is why I don't market it. And this is why I'm very careful about who I take on. And I only took on massive contracts when I was doing client work, not because my work is so incredibly powerful. It's because my work is so incredibly powerful, and we have to be very responsible in the way we do things. And so if I'm willing to share it online, personally, that is a gift I am giving. It is not a right for others to invade my life. So if you see me on the street, or you see my work and you think you know me, please show some composure and some respect, because I am a real person doing real work that I happen to share in the public realm. Please respect my family. Please respect the businesses I've done business with. And please respect yourself above all, so that the rest of us can know and feel that from you in your presence. Thank you.